Good morning, everyone. My name is Richard Gonzalez Jr. I'm 21 years old, and I've been a patient at the Mount Sinai Adolescent Health Center for just over a year. I struggled with figuring out what exactly I wanted to share with you today. As I was struggling, I found a quote from Cheryl Richardson that really resonated with me and with my own experience at the center. People start to heal the moment they feel heard. Before stepping through the doors of the Mount Sinai Adolescent Health Center for the first time, I felt unheard more often than not. My single mom raised my little sister and me mostly on her own and with the help of her parents, until she got married to my stepfather when I was 6. She had my little brother 2 years later. We struggled with money and we had to move into a new apartment every 1 or 2 years, so I've lived in Brooklyn, Queens, and now East Harlem. My mom's sacrifices have given us a lot to be thankful for, and she continues to work hard to give us the best possible future. With Mom, school always came first. I was at the top of my class up until the start of high school. At Regis High School, located in the Upper East Side, I went from a big fish in a small pond to a small fish in a big pond. Suddenly, I was no longer the straight-A student. While academics were an adjustment, the demographics had also changed. Regis was not nearly as diverse as my previous school. Thus, I struggled. In addition to a fear of failing, I also feared not fitting in. In high school, my routine looked like this. I went to school, came home, did work, ate, slept, then started over the next day. I didn't get to hang out with friends after school, so I didn't really have any close friends. With my mom working and my dad not in the picture, I felt like my feelings weren't important to the two people who are supposed to care most about them. I was lonely, but didn't show it. In 2016, I graduated high school and started attending Williams College. It was my hope, perhaps naively, that college would be the solution. There, I thought I would feel welcomed and accepted instead of isolated and alone. But as a person of color coming from a low-income family, I found my transition into college extremely difficult. Mix that in with the confusion and uncertainty of what I wanted to do with my life, and you get a recipe for disaster. In my spring semester, I started sleeping through the morning, missing classes, and staying in my room a lot more than usual. Instead of connecting with the people around me, I closed myself off to everyone. Not knowing how to make myself a part of the Williams community and lacking the skills and confidence to feel like I even deserved to be part of it, I isolated myself more and more. At the end of the year, I failed 3 of my courses. Williams decided that I needed time off. Frustrated, I returned home to New York City. For a little while, I kept myself busy, first working a doorman job in the Upper East Side, and then working on a hat business with a design of my own creation. Keeping myself busy helped me feel okay, but then it all went away. For many months, I found myself falling back into a routine of sleeping in late and staying inside for days on end. After my mom found out about Williams, I felt like a disappointment to her. I felt worthless and life felt pointless. I had no clarity and I was at one of the lowest points in my life. Going away for college with the highest pressures and expectations to do well and have everything figured out caused my anxiety and depression to develop in ways that it hadn't before. Being back at home because of academic probation had a similar effect, and I wanted it to stop, but I didn't know how. I found myself unable to do a lot of things. Then, in September 2018, I got hired as an administrative assistant at 2 Catholic schools in my neighborhood. In order to work, I had to get a physical. In search of a doctor who took my insurance, I made a few phone calls, and someone recommended the Mount Sinai Adolescent Health Center. I called and scheduled my first appointment. From the moment I walked through the door, something just felt different. I felt comfortable and welcomed at the center by both the doctors and other staff members. After my physical, I was introduced to Rachel Colon, who would be my therapist over the next year. When I first met Rachel, I shared a lot of things with her, but I didn't always talk about me. I would say things that happened to me or things I knew about, but whenever she asked me about the way I felt or how I experienced certain things in my life, I would shut down. I realized that this was what I had been doing my whole life. I was afraid to open myself up to friends and even family, in fear of what they might think or how they might react. Rachel could always tell when I was in my head. She'd ask, "Richard, are you here?" While it may seem like a silly question, it really made me think about my presence and the way I see myself. From Rachel, I learned to be aware of my presence in a space. I learned tools and techniques to keep me grounded when I'm feeling anxious. But most of all, I learned that there was someone who was willing and eager to learn about what was in my head every week. People start to heal the moment they feel heard. Rachel made me feel heard. Over the next few months, I started doing things that I thought I wasn't able to do anymore. I got up in the mornings, showed up for work every day, and went to all my sessions with Rachel. In the beginning of 2019, I also attended classes at Hunter College and passed my courses with A's and B's. Things were looking up. Even with these improvements, I still struggled with my anxiety. One day, on my way home from work, I was sitting on the subway listening to music when I felt my heart skip a beat. Then I felt a rush of dizziness and began to feel very scared. I was having my first panic attack. When I got out of the train, I called Rachel. She told me to come right over, so I did. Rachel was patient and understanding as I described what happened. She explained what a panic attack was and helped me track what had been going on during the week. While it was scary, this knowledge was reassuring because I now knew what was happening and how I could deal with it. Therapy gave me so many tools to live my life with a more positive and thoughtful outlook. It has helped me to take a deep breath when I need to. It has let me be in uncomfortable places and realize that beautiful things can be there on the other side if you push through. I've learned some of the most valuable life lessons over the last 2 years. They were the direct results of my failures, my struggles, and my disappointments. The toughest moments eventually led to the most significant breakthroughs and realizations. I've failed, I've gained real-world experience, I've reflected on my emotions and my past, I've cried and struggled, I've been in pain for a long time. But I've also begun to let those wounds heal. This would not have been possible without the Mount Sinai Adolescent Health Center and the way the people there made me feel welcomed and at home every week. It would not have been possible without Rachel's persistence, her faith in me, her asking me, "Richard, are you here?" and her ability to help guide me through my own tangle of thoughts and feelings. Now, I'm back at Williams College. I'm planning to double major in studio art and either psychology or philosophy. I'm passing all my classes, participating in class, working 2 jobs, and performing on the college's Afro-Latino dance team. Looking toward the future, I'd like to work with students as maybe a guidance counselor or therapist, but I've still got a few more years at Williams to figure it all out. My name is Richard Gonzalez Jr. I am Puerto Rican. I am a son, brother, friend, student, dancer, artist, and thinker. It is important to me to share this with you because it reminds me of all the different things that I am. It reaffirms my identity when I feel lost or confused about who I am and what I want. I would like to thank Dr. Diaz for inviting me to speak today and everyone in this room for listening to my story. Right now, I feel heard. Thank you.